has already shown what you're talking about. So if we reach in the house and the cane, the stick, the weapon is what they are using, then that's violation. I was not signing a contract with you to go into your house for us to fight. But it is love that binds us together to go into that house. So this is why we are saying ending gender-based violence is something that is right, and we need to advocate for that, that men will understand that we are partners, lovers, and we need to share that love, not in war, but in peace.
Still on the International Women's Day celebration, with me here at the Action Aid, I have Jena Banyang, who is head of communication. Madam, thank you for accepting our invitation. We are celebrating the day, and the theme is eradicating gender-based violence. Why do you think the day is especially significant for this year's celebration?
Thank you very much for giving me this very rare opportunity to talk about gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, eliminating gender-based violence is very important on this day. Simply because gender-based violence is on the rise, and I think people need to be aware that this is happening, and that it affects women from all sectors of society, and that mechanisms have to be put in place in addition to ones that are already in place, so that women can be free from violence, can exercise their rights to a life of dignity, so that they'll be able to contribute meaningfully to national development. This is why I think the theme is important. And when you're talking about gender-based violence, we're not just talking about domestic violence, because violence happens everywhere. It happens on your way to work, it happens in the markets, it happens in open spaces, it happens in the homes. And women, I think, should be able to speak out against gender-based violence, against violence against women, and they should be supported by our male friends so that action can be taken and this can be eradicated. That's why I think the theme is important.
We are celebrating our cause with the theme eradicating gender-based violence. Why do you think the theme is especially significant for this year's celebration?
It is extremely significant for this year's celebration because there has been a series of acts of gender-based violence, and it's on the increase. And recently, if we read the newspapers, we all learn that there have been some acts of gender-based violence. Like, for instance, the URR incident that we are aware about, it's an act of gender-based violence. So I think the only way we can curb it is by ensuring that we target the eradication of gender-based violence and involve the stakeholders. Those we think are very much key to participate in the process, we involve them, and let us see it as a menace, something that has come to discuss the development of our society. And I think it's a responsibility that all of us will take up to ensure that we move the agenda forward and ensure that at least gender-based violence is eradicated.
This theme is very, very significant. As you know, gender-based violence has been ongoing for quite a long time, and it needs proper, advocacy, information dissemination, and a lot of efforts so that it can finally be eradicated. And I think the Women's Day celebration will really help to at least disseminate the information to everybody to know what gender-based violence is and how we will be able to finally eradicate it.
It is a very important theme. The theme is very vital because gender-based violence is a thing that has been hindering the development of women, especially young girls who are going to school or probably they are not going to school. It is an issue that has been on top agendas of most international organizations, schools and societies or organizations as well. I think it is very vital that we bring it as a theme for this year's Women's Day celebration.
In our second segment, there are several key aspects of public sector good governance, but a few of them in particularly have specific gender-relevant consideration worth examining, and that's citizenship, legislation, and enforcement, public and expenditure structures and processes of governance. That takes us to the National Council for Civic Education to find out more on good governance.
When we look at the Constitution, we go to section 220. It has clearly spelled out the duties and responsibilities of the citizens. You go to section 18, section 17, 19, 24, all talks about the rights of citizens. And then as we are talking about the Women magazine, if you go to section 28 and 27, it also clearly talked about the rights of women in comparison to men. That women are equal partners in development. Women are equal human beings. They should accord the same dignity and respect that is given to men. Women should decide their own destiny. All these things are clearly spelled out in the Constitution. And to add weight to that one again, the government also come up with the Women's Act 2010. And this is specifically for women. This act also tries to spell out all it serves as an instrument that guides or protects the women, because we say women are vulnerable. They are vulnerable, and these are things that many people have observed, and people come to a consensus that women are vulnerable and therefore they require protection. And that is why the Constitution, when you look at it, Constitution is there to defend the citizens. Anything that is going to serve as a hindrance or an obstacle to the welfare of the citizen, the Constitution says no to it. And that is why when you look at it, you'll see you have sections talking about the right of the women, you have sections talking about right of children, you have sections talking about right of the disabled. But sometimes at the outsider or the lay people will say, okay, now they are talking about, they try to empower women. So what about men? So they want women to override men or what? But that's not the issue. What the law is trying to do here is to try to bridge the gap, because we realize that there is a big gap between between men and women. All along, women are seen as subordinate to men. So this is what the laws are trying to eradicate, so that at least we see each other as equal partners and not to see others as inferior or others as whatever. So governance, again, as we're talking about popular participation, and then participation here. The major place where we measure this participation is in public institutions and also in election issues, but political positions. Now, when we look at most of these political positions that we have, especially in politics in the Gambia in general, when we observe it, we realize that women play a very important role in politics. But most of their roles, most of the roles that they play in politics here is all about cheering and clapping, and then they just become followers. But they never lead the forefront. And these are clearly manifested when we look at the statistics there. If you look at the elected councillors, like we have almost 114 councillors elected. But out of that, we have only 14 who are women. We go to the parliament again, we have only 7% there. Now maybe we go, but less than 10%, because 7 point something, that percent that we have. So that is why when you look at in 1995, the United Nations talk about the quota 30% system, that is the quota system, that every parliament should try to at least have a 30% of the people as females. But like Gambia, we still lacking behind in that, but there is still efforts on that direction. So how can women's participation in politics and decision-making processes be realized? How can they realize that? Yeah, women, their participation can be realized only if they are empowered to take part. And this women, because the reason why they are not taking part, there are many reasons. There are many obstacles that they face. It could boil down to our homes, that is cultures that we have, that women, they should not be leading, they should not lead men. Women should always be at the back seat and men should be leading the forefront. Women, when we come to education again, there is another obstacle there. But like I said before, all these things are addressed in the act. But now coming into practice, that's where the challenge lies. But in the act, all these discriminations are totally banned. We're talking about education, employment, health, with rights of rural women, all these things are clearly spelled out in the Women's Act. So like the laws and policies are already in place that are there to protect women, to empower them so that they can take part, they can take the forefront and take the lead in decision making so that they can also pave their own destiny. But like now coming into practice, that's where the challenges comes. Sometimes even women among ourselves now, when a women candidate stand, then you hear all kind of talks from your fellow women saying she don't know herself, who is she to stand, this and
trying
that.
to make you
or sometimes you look at them, even in our political parties, women play a very important role there. But in most cases, when